Hello, hello, it is me, Cersei, and I'm back with another video. For this video, there were a handful of topics I was thinking of discussing, but for lack of a better word, I became a bit obsessed with this topic, and the topic itself being obsession, and what role it has in our life, and how it can be a positive influence on our life, as well as it can be a negative influence, but how we can bring about obsession to be something that adds to our life and allows us to feel fulfilled. So I want to take some time to differentiate what makes something a healthy obsession versus an unhealthy obsession, and why it's necessary to be obsessed to reach our peak, to discover who we are and who we want to be, and how what we obsess about affects your life in the short term and in the long term. So it was kind of funny to me how I even came about to this topic, where I was watching a hockey game, and during the intermissions, I was watching a Pokemon video. I enjoy watching them once in a while. A nice blast from the past from childhood, and I always just enjoy competitive things. So I was watching a YouTuber, and he was using a Pokemon team that used a Pokemon that very rarely gets used, but with it, they managed to get not the person playing, but the person originally was able to get second place in a large tournament that allowed them to go to Worlds. And my initial thought was, what kind of person puts in that amount of time and dedication to learn the nuances to such a degree, to find these strategies and these small adjustments that allow them to be successful? And the first word that came to mind is obsessed, but not in a positive way originally. And I was like, how could you spend that time in something that isn't fully impactful? And that's where I ended up realizing I need to listen to myself a little bit more from the last video, where people can find meaning in it, they can care about it. Why shouldn't they obsess about it? And then the hockey game came back on, and I thought about it a little bit more. All of those players are obsessed too. With it going to the Stanley Cup Finals now, they're all obsessed with that goal. Every single one of them, winning the Stanley Cup has probably become a core part of their life, and everything they do is probably based around that. But we valorize that, whereas we probably don't valorize it in the same way for Pokemon or for. You can think of anyone who's obsessed about anything, it can be taken negatively. But why is it taken negatively instead of where, or hockey players or sports players, their obsession and how they base their life around it can be seen positively? And so it got me thinking more about my own life, and if there was anything that I obsessed over, and if not, how come? Because when I thought about it a little bit, there's not really much that I'm obsessed over. Okay, I care about playing WoW and I'm using it to discover myself, but I'm learning a lot from other people. I'm looking at resources that are out there. I'm not so much caring to push my absolute limit in it. I'm not looking to refine. I'd like to push up to like 17, 18s, and that would fulfill its purpose. So I'm not obsessed over it in the same way as I see this person who was able to get second in a large Pokemon tournament. or hockey players where it is core to who they are that it has become this obsession. So I thought about it a little bit more of obsession is a huge tool to discover who we are. And when we aren't obsessed over something, we can discover who we are. There's other methods or chance things can occur to, like, oh wow, that's really amazing. There's a chance encounter with a new thing in life, and there's just something in you that connects with it deeply. It happens. But I think if we give ourselves room to obsess, we don't need to leave it up to chance. We can discover who we are more deeply, much more quickly and readily. Even if what we're obsessing over isn't exactly what we truly care to obsess over. Just for example, for me, I'm not a huge fitness guy. But you know what? If I allowed myself to, like, you know what? I am going to obsess over my fitness. If I go and do that, and I do that for a long enough time, and I do it healthily, which I'll discuss a little bit later, there may come a point where something else will arise where, oh, it's not about physical fitness and reaching the peak there. It's about improving my well being. What I want to obsess over is my well being. And from that point, maybe I'll realize, oh no, what I actually want to obsess about is caring for other people, but I had to obsess over my well being to allow myself to do that well, anyways. But if I don't take that opportunity to obsess and put my all into something, I'm going to miss out. I'm not going to get that same opportunities to discover who I am and who I want to be. And it's something I'm even finding now making these videos. I want to obsess about them. I want to share things that I found useful to myself and hopefully be able to help other people out as well. Just discover who they want to be. Because it's something that I feel is missing a lot in the world where, you know, we don't have the same care for ourselves and each other, and I want to be able to bring that into the world. I want people to feel cared about by me, and I want others to care about each other. I want there to build this level of trust between people. And so I want to obsess over that. But then it got me thinking, why is that important to obsess over? And it's because doing that will give me this sense of fulfillment. And I'm going to differentiate happiness and fulfillment from their longevity. So when you achieve a goal, you're going to feel that brief, large hit of dopamine. You're going to feel happy. But when you pursue something lifelong, also, I'm just terrible there and don't know how to run properly or change to cat form. When you're talking about fulfillment, it's about this like long lasting joy, this long lasting inner peace. And it's something where I crave fulfillment more than I do just those hits of happiness now, because I want this to be something. I don't want to feel just these brief hits where you see people where it happens where they achieve these lifelong goals, but what are they left with afterwards? And I think that's where obsession can come in, where You need to find something deeper, larger to obsess over at that point. Where you need to obsess over something unknown beyond that. Where, just using hockey players for example, they obsess over winning the Stanley Cup. Let's say they do. Are they still going to have that same motivation? And you see it a lot where they can. But what drives that? Is it this internal desire to see their physical limits to achieve best thing possible? And then again, that might have to change at the end of their playing career, where if it is something about hockey, they might dedicate their lives to understanding the game, go into coaching or analytics, and just see what they can discover. Or maybe it's about something more personal and individual. And they can very well do that, and everyone's going to be their own person. And so that's where I think this sense of fulfillment comes from, pushing the unknown of ourselves, where we discover these new areas of life that we didn't know about ourselves. And it's a thing where we will never fully understand ourselves. At least that's my belief. Where no matter what we do, we're always going to learn something new about ourselves if we let ourselves. There's always going to be a new experience or a new piece of knowledge that we didn't know before. Our time is finite, and the world is so large. And even beyond that, heck, you start looking at the universe, there's so much out there. And there's so much within ourselves to discover too. And so I think it's that discovery that brings about this sense of fulfillment. And with this obsessing, I think you'll also find out what's important to you. You'll find if, you know what, you obsess over winning the Stanley Cup, it happens. Oh, okay. I've stopped feeling the same amount of joy. Maybe that was just a placebo for it, but because I didn't know, it didn't get discovered until it happened. But if I didn't obsess over it, it wouldn't have happened, and I would have thought that was always what was important to me. Whereas it may have actually been like, working together as a team, or again, pushing physical limits. You'll slowly discover what it is about yourself and what it is you do that you actually find important. And so I think this brings about to something to talk about, where I want to differentiate healthy obsession and unhealthy obsession. So when I'm talking about healthy obsession, I'm thinking about something you do and you obsess over it in a way where you could do it until the end of time. You could do it until your last breath. So when you're obsessing over it, you're setting yourself up for success. So you're taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and you're building your life in a way to push this obsession forward, to push this question forward of that you want to discover. And where I compare that to an unhealthy obsession, I mean, I'm going to look at WoW as a great example for me, where I've told myself, oh yeah, I'm going to obsess over it, and then I do. But then I start sleeping 4 hours a night. I stop eating healthy. I live off of pizza pops and 4 hours of sleep and pop. But with that, I'm going to burn out. There's no way I can continue that lifestyle. There's going to reach a point where I'm just so drained, either physically, emotionally, or mentally, where I can't obsess about it any longer. I have to take a break. And that's where I'm going to differentiate this healthy versus unhealthy obsession, where you obsess about something, but you're doing it in a way that's not detrimental to you and not going to be limiting your discovery of self. And I think we can all think of examples where, you know, we obsess over something and it's not healthy. Um, if we're obsessed over grades in school to such a degree that we're no longer taking care of ourselves, sure, we'll be able to make it through that year with A's, but we might come to hate school overall. And there might come a point, I know this happened to me for different reasons, where I had to stop school entirely. I didn't get to finish school during my university degree during my first 4 years. I had to stop for 2 years because of mental health and then go back. And it was because I was obsessing about things unhealthily. And so, with that, I want you to take a moment, think about something you want to obsess over. What's the thing in your life that you would just feel such joy and fulfillment from doing every day? Think about it, lock it in your mind, and this is something that you believe would give meaning to your life. What is blocking you from obsessing over that? What is preventing you from being like, okay, I'm going to build my life around this? Are there external pressures where you're concerned about what other people will think? Are there internal pressures where you're questioning if this is going to be the right option? Are there other things, potentially even just like, and it's the reality where we do have base needs, where we need to be able to feed ourselves, clothe ourselves, and be able to survive day to day in order to obsess over something else. And so, thinking about these blockers, why are they there? And are there things you can do to work through them? And obviously, that is a whole topic in itself. I know for me, even making this video, there were things that blocked me. I mean, I have concerns over how people will feel about me making them. I have concerns if this is something that I will find fulfilling or if this is the right thing to do. If, you know, I'm going to detract from other aspects of my life by pursuing this, am I going to miss out on something else? It's definitely a possibility, and so I had to take time and meditate and work through it. And even with that, I still had to wait for a little bit of extra motivation to make this. So I'm definitely not going to say it's ever easy to work through a blocker of what you want to obsess about. It's not. But there are tools out there to build towards that. And it finally let me come about to make this video. This is something that I think internally, even if it's not exactly what I want to do, I want to find out what I can learn about myself by doing it. And so I'm going to give it the time. I'm going to obsess over what kind of topics can I discuss in these videos that can hopefully help other people. These things that I've found in life that are huge struggles for myself and I'm sure are for many other people. And if they're not, that's awesome. I'm proud of you for being at a point where it doesn't bother you in the same way. But for me, I have them and I'm sure other people do, so I want to share. And so now I want to go to the topic of what are you obsessing about? And I'm going to differentiate it between two things of internal obsessions and external obsessions. And when I talk about external obsessions, I mean more things that are single scenarioed, where you're obsessed over a goal that somebody else has put into life. Going back to, you think of hockey, football, soccer, any sport, there's a trophy in a league that somebody has created, and that can become your goal. But that's where you're relying on somebody else for that. And if you obsess over that, there can be issues where you can start making different decisions. So going back to the working out example, say there's a powerlifting competition coming up, and at this point you want to win that competition, and that is what you're obsessing over. Are you going to make a short-term decision to use steroids? Are you going to make short-term decisions that affect you negatively? And that's where I worry about these external obsessions that can be reliant on other people, because you know what, that competition, your body may not be able to win that competition. It could just be a reality of it, and it sucks, but without any other factors it might just not be possible. If I made it my goal now, 31 years of age, to be like, I want to go win the Stanley Cup, I would have to take so many shortcuts. I would have to cut so many corners. I would have to cheat so many people that when it finally happened, I think I'd feel pretty empty. And so that's where I try to focus more towards these internal obsessions. And I'm not going to say external obsessions are bad. I think it's when we can start moving it from this healthy to unhealthy obsession, where if it's like, okay, you know what? I would love to win a Stanley Cup. Okay, why is that? What is that internal push for me? And a lot of that internal push is team environments, improving coordination between people, improving trust, respect, honesty between people, helping groups of people achieve more together than they can do individually. And so that's where that comes from. And I think it's important to work backwards to something internal where that edge can always be pursued. There is no finite end, where I don't think there's an end where no matter what, there's always going to be better ways to build trust, honesty, respect, to help other people. And so that is something I feel I can do every day. And if I do feel that I've reached the end, then I'm sure there'll be something else even deeper. But I really don't think internally we always discover new things about ourselves. And so that's where I think these external obsessions can be really useful. They're a lot more clear. Where for me, I'm obsessing over making this video. It's external to me. I want to make sure I'm doing a good job of putting together the right ideas, making sure they're in a good format, I'm communicating them properly. But all of this is in relation to something internal as well. But I can use this more tangible aspect of this video to work towards that internal obsession as well. Because I can't fully visualize it right now. And if when I can't fully visualize that internal obsession of how I want to do it, it becomes way more difficult because I don't know the first steps to take. I'm I'm not sure what to do exactly or what's the right path forward. But the right path forward for making this video, I can think of steps for that. And so I can pursue that. So that's where I think it's important when you think about your obsessions, try to work it back to something internal. So with this is a topic that I've it's came into my mind for 2 weeks now, a bit more than that maybe. And I've started to be able to apply some of the aspects of it to my own life, and I thought that would be useful to help share with how I've done it, and maybe there's some things there that can help you apply it to your life. And so I think the biggest thing for me is with work. So what I do for work, it's cool, it's interesting, but I really don't feel any sense of fulfillment or great sense of even happiness from it. It's not exactly what I want to do. But now I'm reframing that in a way of, you know what? Okay, what do I want to obsess over? I want to obsess over building trust, respect, and honesty in our communities. What do I need to do to that? I need to deal with my basic needs. How can I deal with my basic needs right now? I need to do my job well. So it makes it and the better I do my job, the more time I have available for doing those things. So there are times where doing work is a struggle to put in the time and effort, and it takes way longer than I want it to. I end up feeling stressed because I'm like, oh no, I'm not getting work done in time. And it just overall doesn't feel great. But with this reframing of it's a necessary task or it's moving me forward to do what I truly want to do, it makes it that much easier to just be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get this work done. I'm set because this is what I actually want to work on right now. So it's changed how I've interacted with work in a way, and I actually feel happier with work. I feel that I'm getting more out of it because then when I do have time to make this kind of video, like, oh wow, I'm really happy that I got my work done so that way I can do this, that it takes care of my basic needs, that I'm not stressed. And it's been really great for that. And then it's also changed my relationship with my own well-being. I wouldn't say I'm in the greatest shape. I'm definitely not. I could be in much better shape. But it's gotten to a point now where it's in the same vein where if I want to focus about these things, I have to take care of myself. I have to make sure I'm getting proper sleep. I went to bed at 9, 10 p.m. for a good while there after that. Sometimes I went back to 11, 12 once it got to the weekend, but those are happening, and I think that's okay for my mental health as well. But it made me more focused on, okay, you know what? If I have a better diet, I'm going to feel better and I'm going to be able to put more time and effort into this. And it's made it so much easier to be like, why am I doing this? So I can do these other important things to me. This thing that I want to obsess over and build my life around. It's even changed the way that I've interacted with like WoW and gaming where, you know, I've had bad relationships with it. I've talked about in the last video. But now I don't feel such a negative pull. I've brought it into a part of the healthy obsession of building this trust, honesty, and respect where I want to make these videos, so I have to push this and live what I'm talking about. And so it's been great. And so I hope what I've talked about in this video allows you to feel more free to obsess over what you want to. And so, other than that, I hope you have a great day. And yeah, bye.